everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Therapy, or the best Husker sports update talk show in the universe. I've seen that, I've seen other people do like that. They do stuff on social media where they're like, go top thing, hot dog. And I thought we'd just we'd just change our names.
The best Husker sports update talk show in the universe tonight.
Yes, tonight. Because we are well prepared. We have been reading. We have been studying. We haven't been doing a damn thing, have we?
No, not watching a lot of sports. I've watched.
Hell of that. You know what? Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? Watching a lot of sports. What have you watched, Todd? What have you watched?
Well, I've actually watched a little over 2.5 full games of basketball.
Oh, are you okay?
Well, no, because I quit at halftime of the Nebraska-Wisconsin game. And we know how that turned out.
Yes, you missed one of the most historic games in like 20 years.
Yeah.
The first time a top 10 team leading by, what was it, 16 at half had lost a game.
They were down by 19 points at one point in time.
Yeah.
And I said, there ain't no way this is going to happen again.
Yeah.
And it did.
It did.
And I missed it.
You missed it.
So then I figured.
Do you feel bad about yourself?
Well, I kind of.
You should!
Well, I do.
Good.
So then I watched 2 full games. I watched Iowa State against Baylor.
Okay.
And I watched Nebraska against Illinois.
Well, those are pretty damned exciting games to watch.
Both of them were insane.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it is, and here's Todd Wolverton talking basketball, like, God, that's the dumbest thing. But
it's the best sports update talk show in the universe.
Okay.
So you're getting a hang of it.
Both of those games are coming down to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And both of my teams have the ball with less than the whatever's on the shot clock. So no matter what, they can have the last shot of the game. And they both took the damn shot too early. Nebraska.
Nebraska. You think Nebraska should have held the ball?
They should have held the ball at least for another 4 or 5 seconds. And I understand that there's no guarantee that you're going to get a clean shot. Get it. Got it. But they took that shot with like 9 seconds left. And Iowa State did the same damn thing. They left too much time for the other team. And then the other team scores, and Nebraska ultimately ends up losing, and Iowa State lost. So there's my basketball wisdom. And I don't know. I can't watch much more basketball. Well, no.
Why? Yes, you can. There's a lot left, and it's going to be fun. It is good. It might possibly be the funnest Nebraska ball year in our lives. In all of human history, Todd. In all of human history.
Well, due to the fact that I hadn't paid a hell of a lot of attention, but I read about how Nebraska gets smoked on the road. You know, they win a big game at home, and then they turn around and they pee it down their pants when they go on the road. They really battled against Illinois, and that was a good game. And if by chance Nebraska is somehow over the mental block of playing on the road, you know, maybe they can grab 1 or 2 road games, you know, down the stretch here. Because, you know, listening to all the talking heads, you know, there's people saying that, you know, if they don't think that Nebraska is one of the best, 32, 34 at-large teams in the country, then they're sadly mistaken. So, yeah, and they're a fun team to watch. I mean, Nebraska really is a fun team to watch. I love watching the Hoiberg kid. Love watching Casey. Juwan Gary. Did I say that name right? He's fun to watch. The big Dutchman or Dane or whatever, Belgian, whatever his nationality is. You know, what is he? What is Rick Mast? Is he from
He's rank mast.
Rank Mast?
Yeah.
Full Mast.
Okay, we can make up his known names. I'm usually the one that has trouble with names.
I know that. Is he from here's
okay? Well, we'll look it up because we're well prepared.
well
He is maybe somebody in the comments know. Let's see, Tiger Shark Driver. He says Nebraska ball lead needs to listen to Tony Robbins or something. That's what he says. You're supposed to look it up. Rank Mast. I don't know. I'm the one that has problems with names, Todd. What the hell? He is from Liechtenstein. I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm not going to look this up right now. Holland. MK says Holland.
Holland. Okay.
And I've never listen. Years ago, there was, Holland, the Netherlands, that whole thing. Who's the Dutch? I can never remember that. It's kind of like
they all are.
It's kind of like the UK. I don't know what the UK really is and isn't, and I try not to get into those discussions. And
Holland, Netherlands, Dutch, same thing. Now, Deutsch is not. Deutsch is German.
That would be German.
Okay. So anyway, this Mast, Full Mast, he is. I mean, he's something to watch.
He is.
Being a lover of international sports, I think he's Kevin De Bruyne's brother.
Okay.
I think he's Kevin De Bruyne's long lost brother.
Who's Kevin De Bruyne?
Well, he's like the best soccer player to ever come out of Belgium. He plays for Manchester City. He plays for Manchester City.
Okay.
I mean, those two guys, I mean, it is crazy. It is crazy. It's good that we're getting a geography lesson here tonight, too, over in the comments. Me, the social studies teacher. But,
I think the biggest thing about the Illinois game is they had a chance to fold, and they didn't. They really, with about, I don't know, what was it, 6-7 minutes left, they went down by like 10 points, 72-62, I think it was. And they had the chance to fold, and they did not fold, and they fought back, and they got to overtime. And here's their Twitter is going mad with the officiating and stuff like that. And I'm going to say the same thing that I say about women's basketball. When you're on the road, the home team always gets the calls, unless you're a really shitty team. Okay. Like Nebraska, Penn State, Northwestern, normally in years past would never get calls even on their home court. That's changed, I think, recently. But home teams get the calls, and home teams certainly get the calls if they're they're considered a better basketball team. So Illinois was ranked. They got the calls, and they certainly did get the calls down the stretch. Never going to call fucking Illinois for anything in the last minute of the game. Dude, there was a play in this game where one of the Illinois guys got an offensive rebound and hopped around like fucking Bugs Bunny. And I mean, it was like NBA ready shit. You know how those guys just hop all over the place and nobody ever calls them for traveling. I was going to upload that GIF so everybody could see it. But, oh, my God, I just watched that, and I went, how can you not? That's just – I could call that. And I have the eyes of a sloth, the reaction time, and the eyes of a sloth. But, yeah, it was and people were angry that mass should have been called, a foul should have been called. Tom and I got really just crushed by a guy, just mashed into the floor.
Yeah,
no foul call. And, the games have been, I think, more physical in the Big Ten than I've ever can recall them being. They're just letting players beat the shit out of each other. Maybe the refs are angry that they get nil contracts now.
I do have some. How much time do we have left here, John?
I'd like a long time.
Okay, well, I'll cut this in half.
Okay.
John asked me what I hate about basketball.
What do you hate about basketball, Todd?
Everybody in the stands thinks they're the goddamn referee. That's what I hate about basketball.
Okay.
You can't go into a gymnasium anywhere where there's 10 people out on the floor bouncing an orange ball and everyone else around is an official. I'll tell you what, I was a principal for 23 years and I hated basketball season because I had to supervise the damn gym. And I'd go into that gym every flipping basketball game.
Basketball.
Flipping. I'm trying to be careful here.
You're trying to be careful.
I am.
Good job. Good job.
And everybody thinks they're a damn referee. Everybody thinks they're a referee. I remember back when I had my first teaching job, Donna Mason, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds. Every time the ball, because all she knew was 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And Sharon Clausen would stand up and do this kind of crap all the time. All the time. Everybody thinks they're a flipping official. Everybody. And they yell and they scream.
Are these real names of real people?
Yeah. I don't care.
Oh, my God.
One of them might be dead.
Okay. I was just going to ask. That was my next question. Are they dead? Okay.
But the reality is, everybody's so damn close to the court and they think they're a flipping official. They think they're a referee. The other part of it is that nobody knows what the rules are. Nobody knows. Because you can call a foul on every play. There's not enough officials on the floor. The game is out of control. It's absolutely ridiculous based upon how the game is played compared to how the rules are written. They're two different things. And the other thing is, and I have not found this, I'll tell you what, at one point in time, I actually pulled out the basketball rule book. The rule book that is written by the National Federation of High School Sports. And I looked for the rule that said fouls must be equal between the home team and the visiting team at the end of the night. And I can't find that rule.
No, it doesn't exist.
I can't. You know, hey, you know what? He was a son of a bitch. But Bobby Knight's teams, they very rarely got called for fouls because they played a cleaner game. They played a cleaner game.
Look, listen to you.
I'm sounding like a basketball guy.
No, you're sounding like you're clenching your balls really tight and it hurts and your voice is going way up through the ceiling. Okay, I have a problem. Todd. You're gonna have to talk for a few minutes. Fred Sacco brought it up. Remember, right before I started, I kept saying I'm forgetting something.
Okay,
I'm forgetting something. So I want you to talk. I want you to talk about this for 2 minutes. Will I do something?
Tiger Shark Diver says we don't have a point guard. I think that's the guy that brings the ball up the floor. That's kind of like the field general, the quarterback that kind of points people in different directions and tells them where to go and runs the offense and all of that kind of stuff. So you know, they said that going into the season. I think.
Okay. What? All right.
Can you say sell out?
I knew I was forgetting some. Okay. Well, we don't have a point guard. You know, I don't know.
We have a point center, according to Husker.
We do have a point. You know, here's the thing. Nebraska has had a problem getting a point guard for a very long time. I don't know if we do actually have a qualified point guard, but what we do is have an offense where it's a positionless offense, just like Matt Rule. If we had to rename Nebraska sports, we could just call us the positionless, and it'd be like mystifying.
Well, you'll see that's how out of touch I am with the game. It used to be the tallest guy on the floor was your center, and your next two tallest guys were your forwards. And then you had the two short guys were the guards. And then they started calling shooting guard, power forward. And then we had to number them, playing the 5, playing the 3. I don't even know what the hell all that means, you know? But
it's not necessary to watch the game.
I don't think it is, because sometimes you get 4 little shorties out there that it's bombs away. So
Linda says, whoop, I missed it. Linda says, God dang it, I missed it again. Linda says, John, you could get undressed on camera. I think YouTube, frowns on that kind of thing. And I'm not starting an OnlyFans because I got enough of going on in my life. Okay. Justin Rogge says, no, we need a point guard badly. I don't know if we do. I mean, listen, if you want to be, what do you want to be? I mean, if you want to be Purdue, yeah, we need a point guard, probably 2 or 3 of them. But if we just want to look at this team and go, you know what, this team could make history this season, and just winning an NCAA game, getting to the NCAA tournament for the first time in almost, what's it been, 2014?
I thought it was back before the Revolutionary War.
It might as well be. But, I guess, if we can continue to be good, if Fred Hoiberg can continue to get old and stay old, then maybe we'll pick up a point guard. I don't know, but it's been fun to watch. I've enjoyed. I dread them kind of because, the problem I have with men's basketball is this. In our game threads, people wait until the teams do poorly, and then they come in and just start making shit comments. And they do the same thing on Twitter, and it's really exhausting. I mean, if you're going to make shit comments, make shit comments all the time, not just when we're getting our asses kicked. You fucking pansies. I mean, if you want to just say we stink and then stay with that, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But when you wait until we're down by like 15, you go, you're just nothing but an asshole. Okay, there you go. That's my ranty bit about that.
Wow, you're kind of unsettled a little bit about that, but I agree with you.
It's exhausting. It's really exhausting because
it does get tiring. So,
okay, basketball. I think the key here is this: they went on the road they played a ranked team in Illinois. Illinois is one of the best teams in the Big Ten, and they fought them through overtime, and they barely lost. And if they can keep that. If they can keep that kind of fight when they go through the rest of their games on the road, we should be able to pick up a win or two. Fred Sacco says, I'll make shit comments all the time about basketball, John. I got you. Thank you. Vince Watson says, odds are better they choke and end up in the NIT, in my humble opinion. Who knows? That's the thing about it is you can just not project and just let it happen, man. Well, I want to get more Big Lebowski. Like I need to rewatch that movie and just like, that's just your opinion, man.
So they've got Northwestern on the road next. That's the next game. Yeah, it looks like they're at Northwestern on Wednesday, and then they're home against Michigan and home against Penn State. Boy, I'll tell you what, if they could somehow get those 3 games, that ought to position them pretty good. I saw a comment earlier from another former wrestler, Don Dre, mentioned if they get 20 wins, they ought to get into the dance. I'm hearing people project they're going to have more than 20. We're like 21, 22 and win a game in the Big Ten tournament. But
I don't know. I see that just it. I don't know. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? Unless the earth stops spinning and the simulation we're living in is over with soon. Then it's going to be fine. Okay, basketball. What else? What other sports did you watch?
Well, wait, we're still on basketball.
Okay.
What on God's green earth happened to the women? They got beat by Rutgers on the home floor.
Yeah.
A Rutgers team that is 0-10 in the Big Ten. Well, flush that one away, and hopefully they get better from here on out.
I hate to say this. We have Jaden and Jill that do women's basketball, but I will say this about women's basketball is that seems to be the MO of Amy Williams team is that they're just unbelievably inconsistent and they just can't find consistency, and by now you would think we're going to win our games at home. And, the same thing with the men, lose them on the road, maybe pick up a couple on the road, but win all their games at home. And that you just kind of look at that and go, how can you let this happen?
Well, we got at least 3 other sports to talk about. Let's flip to this one right here. Todd just wrestled a polar bear, according to Tiger Shark Diver. No, Todd didn't wrestle the polar bear, but Todd certainly did watch the polar bear wrestle Linda Wilkins says Todd watched the polar bear against the Illinois heavyweight the other night. Yes, he did. And the polar bear is coming along. But Linda points out, I'm glad she brought this match up. We all know that Nash Hutmacher, he has been kind of flipping every other duel with I'm blank on his name, the other heavyweight, Harley Andrews. And Hutmacher is all of 285 pounds. I mean, The guy's 285 pounds, as big as you can get for a heavyweight in this day and age. The kid that he wrestled from Illinois the other night is a bumped up 197 pounder. So he's probably only weighing in at about 210, 215, maybe 220. And what I suspected was going to be a problem for Hutmacher turned out to be a problem in that match. Number one, that kid was in better shape. Nash is still working to get his cardio. Number two, Nash he's a very active heavyweight. I mean, which is great for the sport. It's fun to watch guys like that. But he also is trying to learn a sport that he's not all that familiar with, because being a big old heavyweight in high school like he was and able to totally dominate people, 73 straight pins, he's up against some very athletic wrestlers. And when you have a guy who bumped up from 197 pounds, he was able to use Hutmacher's inexperience, and also he was able to use Hutmacher's weight and aggressiveness against him. He'd push and push and push, and then Hutmacher pushes back, and all that guy did is he dropped down and took him down. He took down Hutmacher as easy as any heavyweight's taken him down this year when he actually did it. Eventually, and Nash is a good athlete, and he's learning the ropes at the college level. He had some good moves late in the match, and then he just wore the other guy out. I mean, the other guy's given up 65 pounds. And so Hutmacher just used his weight and wore him out. So, good on him getting that win. And I'll tell you what, I said it before, after Nash won his second match, I do believe that he has the potential for getting a medal at the Big Ten tournament. I think he does. And,
Hutmacher does?
Huh?
Hutmacher does?
I think he does. But
really?
he also has to be the one in the lineup, because, the other guy's been wrestling pretty good too. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Manning handles that situation. But it's bringing a lot of attention to the sport. The Big Ten is starting to latch onto it. The Big Ten announcers, for those of you that don't watch wrestling regular, Shane Sparks does a lot of the play-by-play. He is one of the most excitable guys you're ever going to see in the sport. Guy's off the wall. And everybody's getting on the polar bear train right now. So that's good for Nebraska, good for Nebraska wrestling, and good for the football team too. So
Matt Novak says, who cares how Nash does as long as he's doing it? He will be the most in shape player come spring ball.
Yeah, he will.
But Matt, there are wrestling fans, and they want we do have one of the best wrestling teams in the nation. We just happen to be in a conference with all the other best wrestling teams in the nation.
That's true.
And then there's Penn State that's might as well be, I don't know, their own league.
Yeah, pretty much so.
Okay, well, let's go to some comments here. Linda Wilkins says, I believe the Lady Husker softball team is going to have a great year. The coordination will be starting a softball show, I think, maybe in the next week. We're working on some kind of intro. They're working on names, but Andy and I think Jaden are going to be doing that. Maybe some Miley, or maybe all three of them. I don't know. But Todd and I won't be there, and we hope you watch, because I think softball should be really, like Linda says, pretty exciting this year.
Well, there's a good article in Coordination today, a preview of the softball season. And softball, here's the thing, Jordy Ball, that's huge getting her. But these aren't the days when a high-powered pitcher can win game after game after game. A high-powered pitcher can give you a chance to win game after game. But Nebraska's going to have to find somebody else to carry that pitching load as well. And hopefully the offense is as potent as it should be. I agree, Linda. I think they're looking at a really good season. We are going to have coverage here at Corn Nation. Andy has kind of picked it up, like John said, and Jaden, and maybe some Miley too. So, yeah, pay attention to Corn Nation for softball news.
Tiger Shark Diver says Todd was in the movie Gran Torino. Is that true, Todd?
Yeah, I drove the Torino.
Did you?
Yeah, my day name is Clint. That's what I go by, during the working hours.
Okay. James Boardman says officiating is a difficult job with split-second decisions, but some of those calls and no calls were terrible. They were, and it happens a lot. And I guess, in order for me to not go insane and like break my TV when I'm watching basketball, I just kind of went, I got to let this shit go. Tiger Shark Diver is back with Todd is older than old school.
I take that as a compliment.
James Boardman says Northwestern is a quad one game. The remaining games would do more damage if they lost. Northwestern right now is 4th in the conference at 6-5 in the conference, 15-7 in the overall, 11-1 at home. So, it's kind of weird in that Northwestern and Nebraska are closer to the top. Minnesota is at 5-5. That's shocking. And then Michigan is 2-9, and Ohio State is 3-8. These are conference records. And you got to just laugh at Ohio State and Michigan because you can. That's what's fun about it. Indiana at 5-6, they're below 500.
Linda Wilkins says, what I hate about basketball is that they can take 1 minute left to play and turn it into 8 minutes. Yeah, isn't that the case? You don't have to tune in till the last couple of minutes of a game, and you'll see the whole thing. You're right.
Okay, that's like soccer extended minutes. They just extend whatever minutes they want.
Well, they keep calling all those timeouts. And then, fouling people and all that kind of stuff.
It's it's part of the game. Okay, let's see. Never Mind Me says, what is our record right now? Right now, Nebraska is 6-6 in conference. 16. Am I looking at the right thing? Yeah, 16-7 overall, 14-1 at home, and 1-6 on the road. This is not the right record because it has this. What the hell am I looking at here? That is not updated. Take another comment, Todd.
Don Dre says, Todd, are you leaving your first love wrestling for basketball? Absolutely not. Clay Casselder says, Todd wore short shorts in basketball. Well, I used to wear short shorts, but I never played basketball. Back in my day, that's what the ladies liked, were the short shorts. That's what everybody wore.
Those were the correct records. Okay, go ahead.
John wore short shorts.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Matt Snowback. Been a hot minute since I've been able to join the live show. John, your history videos are interesting, not to mention help the workday go by. I hope all of you are moved over to Hardcore College Football History, which is the newer channel I started. All of the newer history videos are going out there. My goal is to release one a week, and I'm still trying to learn what I'm doing, and then we're going to try to tackle some bigger projects. Like what happened to college football in World War I, Todd?
In World War I?
Yeah.
Well, World War I. That's shortly after Teddy Roosevelt almost shut the game down.
Sure. This is like 15 years later.
Well, I said shortly in the big
Okay,
scheme.
shortly in the age that we are. In other words, like we've lived millenniums. So
I'm going to guess they played college football, but it was probably stripped down a lot because a lot of the young men were off fighting the war.
Well, this is one of the things that I'm going to cover. It's hopefully in the future. What happened to college football in World War II?
I don't know, but Ted Williams flew a fighter plane and he lost an opportunity to have a lot more hits.
Okay. Were you marking comments?
I've been talking. I'm looking.
Okay. What's next? What is next on the thing? On the agenda, the one that we wrote down before we do these shows.
Well, I'm going to put this one kind of comes up. The Omaha
Oh, yeah.
Supernovas. Well, let me back up. Fred Sacco says Omaha Supernovas, is that our lingerie football team? And Justin Rogge pops in and says, Fred, it's our professional volleyball team. So, John,
Yeah.
have you paid any attention at all to the Omaha Supernovas?
No, I haven't. I figured when it starts, we'll start hearing about it.
Well, it has started. And
it has.
They have had 2 home games in the CHI Center.
Okay.
What do you suppose attendance has been for those 2 home games? How many people from Omaha or the Omaha area, whatever, from Nebraska, how many people do you think would show up to watch a women's professional volleyball game that I think has 2 Nebraska players on the roster?
5,000 each.
Over 11,000 both games.
Really?
Each game has been over 11,000 fans.
That is okay. That's pretty impressive. Is that more than the WNBA gets?
Well, it's pretty shocking if you ask me. But do you suppose because Nebraska has been crowned, the capital of volleyball, 93,000 for a women's game in a outdoor football stadium. Do you suppose now that Nebraskans feel an obligation to show up? I mean, is that like Nebraska guilt, or is that truly the love of the game?
I think you know what? Years ago, oh my God, this is deep memories. I remember watching the Tucson Sky when I was like 15 years old, I think, or 16, living in Tucson by myself. And that was fun. It was men and women together on the same volleyball team. And it was phenomenal. I mean, it was exciting. It was fast. And I can imagine that professional women's volleyball. I mean, it's an exciting, fast. The volleyball is a fun sport to watch. It's exciting. It's fast. You know what happens at the end of volleyball, Todd? They don't call timeouts and make the game last too long. Sons of bitches. That's why it's so good, is because it's just, there you go. It's volleyball. Supernova, huh?
Yeah,
I like that name.
Well, Linda Wilkins says, Todd, are you saying you don't like the short shorts on the volleyball team? Linda, that's not what I said. Linda, do not drag me into a place that we all know that I should not go. However, I followed up a little bit of reading, and apparently during the Supernova broadcast, which I didn't watch the Supernova broadcast, but one of our regulars had commented about the announcer and the 2 announcers. Well, John Baylor does the play-by-play, but whoever he has as his analyst on that show was really going off on the Oregon women and first of all, the Oregon volleyball court, because it's so busy and it's hard to watch, but also she just lit up Oregon and Nike for how short the Oregon women's shorts were in the NCAA tournament this year. So just a little bit of fashion news out there about shorts and short shorts that don't cover everything they should cover in public.
You know what I remember about Supernova?
What?
It was a really good Liz Phair song.
Well, who did Champagne Supernova? That's
Oasis.
A really good
Oasis.
That's a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take Liz Phair's version, but there you go. Okay. What? Answer that question, Todd.
Well, I'm sure if Sam could be a point guard, he would be a point guard. After all, his dad is the coach. I think his dad probably spent a tremendous amount of time with him in the driveway and in the gym and coaching him up. And so I think if Sam could be a point guard, he would be.
Isn't he a point guard?
I don't know. He's always out there playing defense and throwing up a 3 from downtown occasionally.
He is fun when he gets on the floor. He plays with exceptional energy. You can tell that they take it up a notch when he just gets on the floor and starts doing stuff.
Well,
I don't know.
I think there's also a rule, and because some people could ask, well, couldn't Casey, or am I saying it right? Casey
Tongmanaga.
Casey. Why isn't Casey a point guard? And okay, so you got Casey, you got Sam. And the reason neither one of those guys can be point guards is because they're dependent upon headbands. You can't wear stretchy elastic headbands and be a point guard. You simply can't, because you can be going down the court in a really important moment and your headband might slip down over your eyes and you can't see and tell anybody what to do. So the only way that you can have Sam and Casey be a point guard is if you take the headbands away from them. No headbands. You show me a point guard that wears a headband.
John Stockton.
John Stockton didn't wear a headband.
That one tennis guy that yelled, "Are you serious?" all the time.
John McEnroe, he wore a headband.
He was a point guard.
Well, think about how much better he would have been if that headband wouldn't slip down over his eyes at important points. I'm telling you.
Okay. We still have like 20 minutes left. Did you see the big news in football? Well, the big news in sports. There was some big news today. Did you see any of it?
I saw, yeah, the Big Ten and the SEC. They be having some conversation.
Yeah.
Roger Goodell gave his State of the NFL speech today.
Oh, did he? I didn't know.
But we're not talking about that.
No, we're not.
John, you tell me what are the SEC and the Big Ten up to?
They're getting together and making sure that everybody knows they're in charge of everything from now on. Basically, I don't think this is the alliance. If you remember that thing that kept ESPN, it did its job. If we can make fun of it, but it did its job. And then it kept ESPN from automatically extending the college football contract because that's what ESPN wanted to do. And the alliance that was short-lived, did their job and took care of that and made sure that the contract was opened up to everybody, which it should be. But the Big Ten and SEC have kind of joined you're a bureaucrat. You spent your life being a bureaucrat. You should be able to understand this more than I do. They're going to listen. They're going to express their concerns about the NCAA. I don't know what, I don't know. What have I said earlier? I've said we have about 3 to 5 years before all of this is going to change. And today's news was another indication of that, and that the National Labor Relations Board ruled that Dartmouth's basketball team is employees. Now, this isn't, Twitter's acting like, oh, this is a big thing and the end of the beginning of the end. But keep in mind that years ago, the NRLB ruled that Northwestern should be employees too. So this has all got God knows how many appeals left and how much time left. But it is a sign that, I think that, like I've said, I think we have about 3 to 5 years, and college sports are going to be absolutely, completely different than anything we could ever think of before.
I agree with you. I think that somehow what's going to come from, I don't know if it's going to come from these meetings that the Big Ten and SEC are holding, but I do eventually see some form of payment, some collective bargaining. Quite honestly, that's really the only way that, for now, I'll say the NCAA. Who knows what's going to be down the road. But right now, that's without a collective bargaining agreement, they really don't have a hell of a lot of control over their players. We're going to continue to have the wild, wild west with the portal and nil, unless they have some kind of an agreement. And yeah, we'll have to see. I still am going to hedge my bets. I'm going to say that there is going to be a 36 or a 40 some odd league football league of some type of college football. And I think we're going to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in the next 10 years. So, yeah, 50. Yeah.
50
50.
what?
I don't know.
Is he guessing my age?
He might be. I'm going to throw a couple of things up here, and then we got another sport to talk about here. Don Dre said when Todd wrestled, he would say to his opponent, "Do you feel lucky?" Well, that would be my daytime persona. Do you feel lucky? And then Fred, boy, these two guys must have sat close to the mat. Fred said when Todd wrestled, he said, "What you gonna do?" I was not a trash talker, and I'm not a real trash talker fan. I popped off when I was in 8th grade. I'm not going to get into the details, but I popped off once after a match. I won, and a kid was talking to me the whole match. And I honestly am shocked that we got out of that school alive. It just scared the hell out of me.
Wow.
Story on it, and was with my mom and my brother. One of the scariest experiences I've ever had in my life. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, go ahead. You're going to do more comments, I assume.
Matt Snovak says, is the baseball team predicted to be good this year? I'm more of a fair weather Husker baseball fan. I'm real curious, Matt, to see what the Big Ten coaches and the media, what their predictions are this year. They have not, no one's come out. Most schools, or excuse me, the few things that I've read, they're looking at Indiana and Iowa. Iowa brings back a load of pitching. And they always are an aggressive, scrappy offensive team. But I think Nebraska is going to be in the mix. And I think this week we have a series of preview articles coming out in Corn Nation. Aaron and I have written them. I think they're starting tomorrow, either tomorrow or the middle of the week. So you can read our thoughts about this upcoming season. What Nebraska has to figure out is who they're starting pitching, who's going to be their starting pitchers. And the weekend, starting 3, your guess is as good as mine. I think Will Walsh has a chance to be in there. I think Drew Christo maybe, but who knows? The excitement is that on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, I'm going to be in Arlington, Texas, watching Nebraska play baseball.
Oh, wow.
And so is Aaron. So we're both, Aaron's going down with his family, and I'm going down solo. I'm going to hang out down there. And
you should figure out how to do a live show from Texas.
A live show from Texas.
Yeah.
I hope I'm alive when I'm in Texas.
Texas is a fine state, Todd.
Okay.
It is. It's a fine state full of.
I'm really optimistic about the baseball team, though.
I have relatives in Texas, Todd.
I know you do. Linda Wilkins said, Todd, it was 92,003, not 93,000. Yeah, thanks, Linda, for keeping me honest there. I tend to inflate things. My wife accuses me of exaggerating everything.
It was a long silence, wasn't it? Okay.
Fred Sacco says Champagne Supernova was awesome. Yes, Oasis. We've established that. So we agree.
Well, keep going.
Rex Burke. We missed this. James Boardman says Rex Burkhead announced his retirement today.
10 years.
10 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that guy being a 10-year NFL player?
No, I didn't. But I think he was just the guy that figured out how to play football. You know, he's kind of like Danny Woodhead. He just figured out how to make himself useful on a team. And I mean, when he played for Nebraska, he was that guy when you played kill the carrier or whatever we called it back then, that you could just figure out how to run all over the place and nobody could tackle him. Even though there'd be 10 guys chasing him all over the playground, he'd still kick our asses all over the place.
Rex Burkhead, when he was at Nebraska, what stood out to me about him is that he was always going forward, and he was quick enough, surprisingly quick, that he could get to the holes when they would open up, and he could take one step either right or left and get some more yards. It was fun to watch him in the NFL because they threw passes to him. But
right.
he was a Husker that, I think we really need to be proud of. Obviously, John, you've got a soft spot in your heart for Team Jack.
Yeah.
And I know that in his retirement announcement, he mentioned that today,
right.
His affiliation with that. And he's been, a very strong leader for that foundation. So Rex Burkhead is one of those Nebraska Cornhuskers that hopefully they find a way to keep him somehow around the program. I'm not necessarily coaching or anything like that, but
ambassador.
He needs to be around
an ambassador.
There you go. That's a great term, as an ambassador for the program. He's a good guy.
Okay. William Brightinger says polar bear versus spotted cow would be legendary.
I like me some spotted cow.
Somebody asked what you're drinking tonight?
Coffee. I'm in a hotel room.
Matt Snovak says no one should be surprised. It's a matter of where this is regard the NCAA stuff and the Big Ten SC joining forces. No one should be surprised. It's just a matter of time before college football breaks off from the NCAA. Then we will see schools go back to regional leagues for non-football sports to be dollar stable. The NCAA does own March Madness. If they do not own or control the college football offseason, which is why we have this massive playoff and everything coming in and shit tons of money, but they do control March Madness and they do control the money for that. So, I'm surprised that Paul Dallin hasn't mentioned money laundering, that the NCAA is a giant money laundering organization. So they'll have to be around to launder money. You know what I mean?
I do like what, of where we're at. I mean, where we're at and where we could possibly go. I do agree with Matt. I mean, I would football do its thing, and let's get back to some regional leagues for the rest of it. That's what I would advocate. Fred, throws in his 2 cents here. In 5 years, the Big Ten and the SEC will merge, and they'll still call it the Big Ten. Yeah, that's true. Even if we eventually end with a league of 64 teams, I'm sure it will be the Big Ten.
Well, it's a name.
Yeah.
It's the biggest name in sports. Wait a minute. Paul Dallin chimes in and says nil is money laundering, not the NCAA, or did I misunderstand you? No, they're both money laundering, Paul. Come on. By the way, the Pipeline Jerky put out this little segment of me talking about their product and their Neil offering. And I got people on Twitter gave me some crap about pronouncing it nil, because apparently everybody else says NIL, which I think is kind of dumb because it takes longer to say, and it's nil just makes sense. So there you go.
James Boardman comes in with, I'm looking forward to see what Childress will do with the pitching staff. Kind of thin at starting. Absolutely. The key to Nebraska baseball is going to be what Rob Childress does with the pitching staff. And I agree. I think they're kind of thin, but, they brought in, I'll tell you, I think we're going to see some freshman pitchers out there on the mound starting. I don't think, not right away on the weekends, but I think he's brought in some quality freshman throwers. So that's what I'm looking at. And, maybe Drew Christo finally has it figured out.
Yeah.
If Drew Christo has it figured out, I think he could be really, really good. And Will Walsh, he's pretty steady Eddie. So yeah, pitching is where that's gonna make the ship float or sink. So
Well, who's going to replace our offensive juggernaut that we had last year?
I predict that you're going to see a much. I predict you're going to see a team that plays a little bit of small ball. They're going to be very aggressive, a lot of hit and running. You're not going to see. I mean, they had 97 home runs for God's sakes last year.
Yeah,
you can't replace. You can't replace Max Anderson and Bryce Matthews. You can't replace them.
It was fun. 97 home runs was fun, Todd.
97 was fun. Yeah. 97 was fun.
Okay. What else we got? We went through the Big Ten and SEC. What do I really think is going to happen there? And, the whole National Labor Relations Board. I don't know. I need to think about that well with a non-addled mind. What do we got coming up next?
What do you mean? What do we have coming up next?
For our next topic, we still have 8 minutes left.
We still have
since we plan these so well.
So who are you cheering for in the Super Bowl, John?
Oh God, I don't know. It's the Chiefs and the 49ers, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce or
Brock Purdy.
I guess I got to go with Brock Purdy. I kind of feel icky about that though. Because the Packers had them. I will say this. Last Saturday, my wife works at a church. She does this children's program thing, and she had this, this little kids kind of come and do stuff as little kids thing. And one of their youth leaders is a Wisconsin guy, and I forgot about this. And he was telling me about how upset he was that Nebraska came back and beat Wisconsin. And I have to tell you that I got the biggest joy out of that. I really did. It's not often that you actually have, like in my position, it's not often you actually have, where you're living in a foreign state, another guy saying, I'm upset that your basketball team beat mine. Do you know how rare that has been throughout my lifetime?
Yeah, those aren't words you hear very often.
So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm sorry you. Oh, good God. You just said, the Super Bowl. I think
Linda Wilkins says, do you think Patrick's dad being arrested for DWI for the third time will affect his game Sunday? No. I think that Patrick Mahomes, while he and his dad have a good relationship, I think that Patrick Mahomes kind of knows where his dad's been. I think that he can compartmentalize, and I don't think the fact that this happened again will have an effect on Patrick Mahomes.
I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, his dad used to pitch for the Rangers, and pretty solid and Major League Baseball player. But yeah, I tell you what, I'm kind of looking forward to the game because
really,
yeah, I am, and I'm a Brock Purdy fan. I've liked him since his freshman year in college. I really do like him, and but that San Francisco offense is a lot of fun to watch. And so are the Chiefs. I mean, and both teams have really good defenses. So I think it'll be a pretty good game. I don't care who wins. I hope we see a good game. I hope we see a good, exciting game.
Do you hope that the Chiefs win and then Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get engaged right after the game in front of the whole world?
Are they going to get engaged before or after she endorses Biden for president? I mean, because that's what's supposed to happen. I mean, that's what people are saying.
We live in an insane world. Human beings are crazy.
And is she going to be able to get off to her next concert? How long does she stick around after the game before she has to go to her next show?
Did you see how many people dropped offline when you made that comment?
That was not a political comment. That was a statement that has been bandied about by some people. Seem to think that the only reason the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Yeah, there you go.
John Diamo says, I'm probably butchering his name. The powers that be want Taylor Swift to win the Super Bowl. It is a big. I was talking to somebody about this recently about how huge the NFL is and how enormous and influential they are and how much money they have. And the reason that I was talking to somebody about it was the Washington Post recently did an article about CTE and how the NFL controls that money. And if you have suspected CTE problems, or if you have problems where you could qualify for money from their CTE settlement, you have to go through their doctors to get it. And they refuse a lot of people.
Yes.
And it's a really shaming article. And it includes this bit in the fact that at one point the NFL literally was going to pay black players less because they had less cognitive ability. For that to even appear in the world we live in now is shameful and disgusting. And I guess, the NFL still controls all this stuff. So there are times when I'm watching the NFL that I absolutely believe that they would love to see Taylor Swift win the Super Bowl. If they could put her in a uniform and put her on the field for a pass play, they do that in a heartbeat. They'd eat that shit up.
Back to the CTE thing, there was a big article that broke today where there has been some research done on rugby players. And rugby players in Great Britain, I don't know if they mentioned New Zealand and Australia, the incidence of CTE type, they haven't been cutting over open brains and that kind of stuff, but the memory loss types of things are much higher than what people had expected. So anyway.
Okay. Yes.
I don't have anything to say.
I'm fading fast here. I got up this morning and I did a eye exercise, a focus eye exercise, because my eyes still have problems focusing. There's a lot of jokes probably that could go on with that. And I did this eye exercise for literally 5 to 10 minutes, and it screwed me up for the day, and it's not been fun. So, Husker Bob, did you want to read that?
No, you go ahead.
Husker Bob says, new Mahomes State Farm commercial. They'll even insure my dad. Probably isn't in his contract. Ouch. I will say this, but we have to talk shit about Iowa before we're done. Because Iowa's women's basketball is coming to Lincoln, aren't they?
And
soon?
Caitlin Clark is going to set the record for most points by a female college basketball player in Lincoln at the Vault. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about it? I think that they should bring in a ringer and, just play really good defense against her, which doesn't work. It doesn't work because she just flops and she gets all them fucking flopping calls. And you know what I mean?
They should triple team her the entire game. Let everyone else from Iowa score 15 to 20 points apiece. Take the beating, get beat by 40 points, but triple team Caitlin Clark and keep her to under 5, or under 10. Okay.
Husker Shuck says, let's storm the court during the game. That would be interesting. She is, I recognize that she has an effect on everything. She has blown up women's basketball, but watching her in the State Farm commercials during the games is like, oh my God, She shouldn't. They should. She's terrible in commercials. She is so flat and dry.
She is bad.
It's just, it's terrible. I mean, you got to admit, Mahomes and Maato are pretty good with their commercials.
I love those commercials. I
Yeah.
tell you what, those two guys are really, really good. Mahomes is awesome. Well, Andy Reid, that one with when he draws the mustaches when they're sleeping on the plane. Oh my God. Whoop.
Roger Moore says Todd for president. You could do it, Todd. America needs a leader.
America doesn't need me.
You could announce and everybody would go, great, another old senile son of a bitch. That's what it is. Scott Shader says, don't let Flopped and Clark shoot 75 times a game. David Burns says, watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. Welcome, David Burns. Fred Sacco says, she's as bad as Mahomes at his commercials for Hy-Vee. Looks like he's been tranquilized. I don't ever see those because we don't really have many Hy-Vees in Minnesota. Okay. David Burns, you're supposed to show up an hour earlier. We're at 8 o'clock. So we're actually done now because we're old and we get tired easily. Is there we started out with decent energy, Todd.
Yeah, we have. I think we wasted it in the first 10 minutes tonight. We're gonna have to pace ourselves a little bit. I can't watch this much basketball. I'm gonna have to cut back on my basketball watching.
Why?
Because I burnt myself out early in this show.
It's a fun sport.
I got to have staying power.
You just have to learn how to not let it get to you.
Hey, on this one, John, I'm going to say goodnight. Fred Sacco says, David Burns, how's Frank? Still upset at Hawkeye and Trapper?
You know, here's a little inside thing. I think I used to sign my name Frank Burns a lot when I was young. You know, whenever the police would come and they'd make you sign things, like if you were at a party and they said, well, we don't need to see your IDs, but we need to see all your signatures. And I would either sign Frank Burns or the name of a guy I knew in 6th grade that was in my town for 1 year. And then another friend of mine told me later, he goes, I signed his name too a lot. So there you go. I was Frank Burns, a lot of stuff. Okay. Paul Dallin says she's the best college basketball player in the country, full stop. Well, she might be, but she plays for Iowa. And by God, I hate Iowa. So there you go, Paul. That's how it's going to go. Good night, Todd.
Good night, John.